Welcome to Use Prompt Forge. Build smarter with AI.
We've all gotten pretty used to talking with AI, but what if the next big step isn't just about conversation? What if AI could actually start doing things for us? We are right on the edge of this massive shift, from AI as just a tool to AI as an active digital teammate. And the tech making this all happen, it's called an AI agent.
And that's the question, isn't it? It's what's driving one of the biggest trends in tech right now. We're talking about moving way beyond chatbots that just, follow a script. We're entering a world of autonomous systems that can take a goal you give them and just run with it.
So, to really get a handle on this emerging digital workforce, let's start at the beginning. Let's look at the blueprint. What is it that actually makes an AI an agent?
Okay, so at its core, an AI agent is a piece of software that can basically think for itself. It uses a large language model, that's the same kind of brain that powers something like ChatGPT, to reason and to plan. But here's the crucial difference. It doesn't just spit out words. It takes real actions to achieve a goal, all on its own.
And this comparison really drives the point home. Think of a chatbot like a customer service rep who has to stick to a very strict script. They're helpful, sure, but they're limited. An AI agent, on the other hand, is like empowering that rep to solve the problem however they see fit, using whatever tool they need. They don't just follow the workflow, they actually create it. And this is the secret sauce that makes it all work, the agentic loop. It's this continuous cycle. First, it figures out what you want. Then, it cooks up a step-by-step plan. After that, it gets to work, executing the plan using tools like a web browser or connecting to other apps. And finally, and this is key, it looks at the results, learns from them, and adapts its plan. It's this constant loop that gives it its autonomy. All right, so now that we know what these things are, let's meet the key players. We're going to dive into some of the most important AI agents and frameworks that are out there today, and each one has its own special thing it's good at. First up, we have to talk about AutoGPT. This was one of the very first projects that just completely captured everyone's imagination. It showed the world what was possible. An AI you could give a really complex goal to and then just set it loose on the internet to figure it out. So what it's really good at is breaking down those big, messy goals. You could tell it something like, research all the competitor coffee shops in Austin, and off it would go, searching, reading, and putting together a report. But here's the catch. It can sometimes get stuck in these loops, just doing the same step over and over. And that can get super expensive, racking up API bills, which kind of shows us that autonomy without some guardrails has some real-world costs. Next up is Agent GPT, and what this did was make the whole idea way more accessible. The big innovation was simple, but honestly, pretty powerful. They put the whole thing right in your web browser. All of a sudden, you didn't need to be a hardcore developer to start playing around with autonomous agents. The real game changer here is its memory. It uses something called a vector database, which you can just think of as a specialized memory bank for an AI, so it can remember what it's done and what you've talked about before. This makes it awesome for complex, multi-step things, like planning a whole vacation. You could just say, plan a 5-day trip to Tokyo, and it would build a whole itinerary. The main downside is that for non-coders, it can still be a bit tricky to set up complex tasks, since it doesn't have a simple, visual drag-and-drop builder. Okay. So let's shift gears a little. We've talked about individual agents, but what about the toolkits that developers use to build their own? Two of the most popular out there are Crew AI and LangGraph. These are designed for creating really sophisticated teams of agents that can all work together. And the easiest way to think about it is this. Crew AI helps you build a team. You can create a researcher agent, a writer agent, and a reviewer agent, and they'll all collaborate on a project. LangGraph, on the other hand, is more like designing a super detailed flowchart. It gives you precise control over every single step, which is perfect for really complex processes where you just can't afford any mistakes. But what if you're not a coder? What if you just want to automate your own work? Well, that's where a tool like Zapier comes in. They've basically supercharged their famous automation platform, letting anyone build AI agents to handle common, everyday business tasks. And check out how simple this is. You just set a trigger, like, say, a new email arrives. Then you give it instructions, like, summarize this for me and draft a polite no thank you response. You can even point it to a Google Doc to give it context, like reply templates. Then you just hit publish, and bam, you've just built your own personal email assistant. Of course, we can't talk about this stuff without talking about OpenAI, the company that really kicked off this whole LLM revolution.
Their approach is all about letting developers build specialized assistants right into their own apps, giving those apps some serious agent-like superpowers. And what makes this so powerful is the tool set they give you. You can feed an assistant your company's private documents so it can answer questions with real, accurate information. It can run its own code to analyze data on the fly, and it can use something called function calling to connect to other software, which basically lets it use other apps just like a person would. It really does turn into a true digital employee.
And that brings us to the one that made huge waves, Devin. This agent created a massive buzz when it was introduced as the world's first fully autonomous AI software engineer. This is a specialist built to handle entire coding projects, from start to finish. I mean, the promise is just incredible. You give it a project idea, and it builds the entire application. And you know what? Sometimes it actually works. The reality check, though, is that when you put it up against complex, real-world coding challenges, its success rate is currently sitting at around 15%. It's a huge leap forward, for sure, but it also shows us there's still a long way to go before AI can truly automate complex creative work. Okay, so we've met the roster, but what happens when you put all these players on the field at once? Let's zoom out and take a look at how agents are already starting to completely reshape the business landscape. So, where are businesses actually using this stuff? Well, a recent survey from Cloudera gives us a pretty clear picture. The top 3 areas are customer support, automating internal processes, and predictive analytics. And that makes total sense, right? These are all areas where smarter automation can deliver immediate, measurable results.
And get this, the adoption rate is just off the charts. A staggering 96% of organizations are planning to expand how they use AI agents within the next year. This isn't just some passing trend, it's a technological tidal wave. Businesses clearly see this as absolutely essential for staying competitive.
So with things moving this fast, you got to wonder, where is all of this headed? What does the future of this autonomous digital workforce actually look like?
You know, the future here probably isn't about one single super agent doing everything. It's about collaboration. It's about teams of agents. We're moving toward these complex systems where a research agent hands off its findings to an analysis agent who then sends a summary over to a writing agent. Some experts are even talking about an internet of agents, a whole network where these systems can find each other and securely work together, even across different companies. So it's pretty clear this is no longer science fiction. AI agents are evolving really fast, from being experimental toys to becoming essential business tools. They represent a completely new kind of software, one that doesn't just follow your commands, but independently goes out and accomplishes goals. And that leaves all of us with one big question. The digital workforce is here. How will you collaborate with it?
Thanks for watching Use Prompt Forge. Like, share, and subscribe.